Hello and welcome to Taiwan Talks. I'm Jasmine Lee. U.S. President Donald Trump has temporarily exempt computers, smartphones, and chips from new tariffs as part of his reciprocal tariff policy. The U.S. is currently investigating imports of semiconductors and manufacturing equipment. Meanwhile, China has suddenly canceled a 125% retaliatory tariff on certain U.S. semiconductor products. How should we interpret the mounting pressure over U.S.-China tariffs on semiconductors, and what impact might it have on the global chip industry? Additionally, TSMC's latest earnings report shows stronger than expected profits for the first quarter. How do you assess TSMC development amid growing geopolitical tensions? Join us today are Uriankhai, SciTech Power Research CEO, and Chenlung Kuo, United Daily News Deputy Editor-in-Chief. A very warm welcome to both of you on the show. In mid-April, Trump said that tariffs on imported semiconductor would be imposed soon. However, no announcement followed. Instead, the U.S. Bureau of Industry and Security launched an investigation saying that future tariffs would depend on the outcome. Meanwhile, citing unnamed sources, China financial magazine Beijing reported that China has canceled the 125% retaliatory tariff on certain U.S. semiconductor products. So, Rocky, could you tell us more about this so-called semiconductor tariffs? Some people would also refer to this as the chip tariffs. Are they specifically targeting at China, and why has the Trump administration separated semiconductor from other reciprocal tariffs?
Okay, thank you, Jasmine. Before I address your question, let me remind one piece of background information.
Yes.
Share this information with our audience. No. Trump accused Taiwan stealing away or taking away America's semiconductor, right?
Yeah.
And he pushed TSMC to invest more in the United States. When did he say that? Do you remember that? Much earlier than he announced the reciprocal tariff.
Yeah.
So which indicates that Trump particularly concerned about the semiconductors more than the overall trade deficit between U.S. and Taiwan.
So reindustrialization, it's more important than solving the deficit?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think, do you think that Trump possesses a deep understanding about the semiconductor industry? Well, I don't think so. But he did do something. He pressed TSMC to invest in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yes.
On 2020, May 15, I remember, right? So he initiated that. So which means my inference is there's one department or some of his staff that persuaded him to put more emphasis on this part. Which department? I think which is the defense department. And then my inference was confirmed by my friends from Arizona also. No? They are the businessmen and the investors in Arizona. They say the most concerned department is the National Defense Department. They're worried that the more advanced chips won't be able to be made within the United States. They were made in Taiwan. So why they're concerned about this? Because the high-end chips are the foundation of the artificial intelligence. And with the more advanced AI, you can make the weapons smarter, more autonomous, more accurate. And that's also the same reason why the United States doesn't want China to improve their artificial intelligence, so that China can make smarter weapons, more accurate, more autonomous. So semiconductor is very important. It's something to do with the power, the great powers. So if the United States wants to keep their position as a hegemon, they need to pick up the semiconductor mass production capabilities, and especially the high-end chips.
So it's about a national security consideration.
Yes.
And Chenlung, so before U.S. formally imposed semiconductor tariffs, China quietly canceled some of the retaliatory tariffs on U.S. chip. So what kind of message does this move send, and what pressure might China is having right now?
People learn about this, I think in April 25th, China suddenly lift about 8 of its logic chips. It's not memory chips, but it's logic chips out of this exemption of the tariff that China had imposed on U.S. import. I think those are the things that China needed badly. Along with this exemption, it comes also with those parts that is making China's passenger jet C919, like landing gear or engines. So I think that is crucial for Chinese technology and development. But there's another factor I think is more interesting. I think China also announced that starting from April the 11th till the time they announced that the businessmen, when they imported American-made chips, they can get a refund from the tax.
Yep.
That means they refer the starting date to April 11th.
Yes.
That's exactly the time when Donald Trump is saying that they're going to have a tariff waiver on all the electronic devices imported from China. So we are seeing a reciprocal things happening.
Yes.
On the one hand, China is waiving the chips imported from the United States, and the U.S. is waiving the tariff electronic device coming from China. So this reciprocal, that means this stalemate of tariff between China and the U.S. is not really something that is going to war. We are seeing some compromises that's being happening.
Like a negotiation.
Right. I think exactly. And because there's the electronic device will constitute about 25% of all the Chinese import. White House is worrying that if they leverage the tariff on all those Chinese electronic devices, that would pump up inflations. And that is the same logic when China is considering we need to have American-made chips because that will be very crucial for our technology. So both sides have their reason for doing that. So they reach a compromise on those kind of things.
So we are going to see a lot of back and forth between U.S. and China. And Chenlung, one more question I want to ask is the Trump administration is expected to announce the details of the semiconductor tariffs in May. And so in your opinion, which region are likely to be hit hardest?
I think now they are mostly concentrated on artificial intelligence chips. I think those are the things that, just like Rocky had mentioned, on defense-related or even on the high-speed computers, those are the things that the U.S. care most. But they still keep the option opening, saying that we're going to do the investigations, so you better hurry up to come to produce in the United States. Otherwise, you will be penalized by our tariff. So that would create leverage for the U.S. to do it if they still have the power of doing the investigation.
So as Chenlung mentioned about defense-related sector will probably be hit hardest. Rocky, what would be the impact to TSMC?
To TSMC?
Yes.
TSMC is one member of the whole ecosystem of the semiconductors, but I think it is the most robust one. Whenever there's an impact coming or hit on the suppliers of the whole ecosystem, it depends on how strong or the scale or the timing of the impact. Regarding the tariffs, I don't think the tariff designed by the United States government will have too strong impact on TSMC because TSMC, I say, is very robust. Why I say that? Because considering the 7, 5, 3 nanometers high-end chips, the TSMC is probably only the only supplier of the world, right? Occupies probably more than 90% of the market share, global market share. So I think the TSMC has very strong competence in resisting the impact from this tariff.
And the reason why Taiwan is so important, it's not just because TSMC, it's about the whole supply chain. And 95% of the industry is comprised of small and middle-sized enterprises. So Chenlung, my question to you is that how about the impact to the small and middle-sized enterprises, and how can Taiwanese government better help them to navigate?
I'm not too worried about TSMC because just like Rocky has said, that its high-end chips is really the seller's market. Whenever what kind of price they are asking, the people are going to buy it. There's no other options.
Yeah.
But the worry thing is that it's come with the whole supply chain. So there's a lot of small and medium business who have to move along with TSMC. If TSMC is going to produce in Arizona, they will have to move it over there. The same is true for Japan and also the Germany fab. I think what the government should do is to provide as much as logistics support for those small and medium business. They are not
Logistic, could you elaborate?
Logistic meaning that instead of like double taxation, that's one of the issues between Taiwan and United States that haven't really settled yet. And also you have to provide some of the convenience for those factory who decided eventually they have to move along with TSMC. And also, I think for overseas Chinese, there's a lot of concern about educations for their young kids. And also those kind of support, I think is the government who is going to shoulder and to help them to better smooth things out and help them to relocate to other places.
Yeah, so Taiwan, actually at the current moment, Taiwan's legislative delegation is right now in the U.S. and trying to talk with the Congress counterparts in the U.S. and the officials in the U.S. trying to mitigate the risk to Taiwan. Also, the Taiwanese government also have proposed a huge amount of a lot of the supporting policy to help the small and middle-sized enterprises. According to a report from the Taiwan Academy of Banking and Finance, Taiwan semiconductor exports reached $165 billion in 2024. So, Rocky, my question to you is that given with the figures, does this suggest that even if Trump announced a new tariff on chips in May, the impact on Taiwan might be limited?
Yeah, let me explain a little bit details about these figures, okay?
Yes, please.
So people will get confused. Why? It seems Taiwan doesn't sell too much semiconductor products to the United States directly, right? But actually it's because the semiconductor industry is very complicated. What Taiwan makes is called wafer. A wafer is like a pizza, is a round, a very flat wafer, right? But you don't use the wafer to make your mobile phone or your PC or notebook. Yeah, within our old devices, we have chips, but Taiwan only makes the wafer. We still need the wafer to be cut and packaged and tested and make them into the really chips that are used in all these devices. So you will see that Taiwan exported a lot of semiconductor products, which are wafers mainly, to China and ASEAN countries. For example, like Malaysia, because in Malaysia, in China, there are a lot of factories doing the assembly, testing, and packaging jobs. So that's the reason why you will see these figures like this. But I believe Trump administration also knows this very well. So they won't impose the tariffs on those packaging and assembly factories. They will try to impose the tariffs on the factories who make the wafers, which is Taiwan, TSMC or UMC. So we have to be careful if they figure out a way to do that. But believe me, it is too complicated because all the chips, they are embedded into all these devices. So you have to tear them down, tear them apart, then you can find out. Otherwise, you will have to depend on the importer to report the details. We call it BOM, Bill of the Materials Table. So I believe the reason why the Trump administration urgently stopped imposing the tariffs, I believe it comes from the customs department because they have no way to do the job. No, it's too difficult, and their lack of the personnel. Some of the people probably are fired by the dojo already, so it's very difficult for them to do the jobs. So I even doubt next month they will come out a detailed plan because before all these electronics parts, they are tax-free. So I don't think they have a detailed plan to do this.
And Chenlung, I want to ask a question that it's pretty clear that regardless of how tariffs escalate, the U.S. and China, they remain heavily reliant on Taiwan Semiconductor, especially for TSMC. And beyond TSMC expanded investment in the U.S., what else can Taiwan do to maintain its advantages or even ensure it can eventually navigate these tensions safely?
This is the question that every country is asking themselves.
Yes.
How can they survive the tariff being imposed by China and the United States at the same time? But I think with the chip business, I think still now the TSMC and other industry leaders are doing the best they can. I mean, they are the leader among the business in the world.
Yes.
So they can always be on top of this kind of competitions. I still have the faith in the Taiwan production and
Yes.
also its perfection, and that had somehow managed to keep us ahead of all the challenges that have been faced before.
What makes you to have this faith?
So far, we've seen that the fab being try to reproduce what they have been producing in Taiwan. They are doing it in Arizona. It turned out it's not as been effective as we think in Taiwan. We have to send in about 50% of the manpower in order to do the job. So it will be very hard for this kind of semiconductor business to live outside in a different environment, in a different culture. You have to put in extra effort in order to make a success. That it's very unique Taiwan experience, I would say. It's a kind of a culture that been nurtured over the years in Taiwan, that the people are putting dedication, they are putting they're like 16 hours a day in the efforts. And it's very hard for other countries to reproduce that kind of model and compete with Taiwan as far as today. I'm not so sure about what will come up with the Chinese competition. That's another story. Chinese is potential challengers in the future, but so far they are still lag behind.
And let's look at the TSMC plant performance around the world in 2024. Its Arizona plant in the U.S. reported a loss of around 441 million US dollar. And in Japan, the Kumamoto plant posted a loss of $132 million. And in Germany, the Dresden plant saw a smaller loss of about $15 million. But its Nanjing plant, which started production in 2018, reported a profit of about $800 million. So, Rocky, now we're still seeing that TSMC is like expanding overseas. And we know that TSMC is definitely not stupid. They are definitely doing a decision that's going to help their future operations. So what are the strategic considerations of TSMC when we look at this performance?
Yeah, when you try to assess this performance, if you look into the balance sheet or the financial report, which is the lagging indicator, which shows what they do before. What they did before, right? During the past year or during the past quarter. So you have to look foreseeing the future, right? There's a magic word called depreciation.
Yes.
Okay, you listed the 4 fabs here. So it's quite easy if you hold the concept of depreciation. For a factory like TSMC, if they like to build a modern fab, like 12 inches, which will cost them probably $12 to $15 billion, right? And from the very beginning, you start building the construction. After you finish building the construction, you have to move in all the equipment, right?
Yes.
So after you finish building the factory, the fab, then you have to start depreciating the cost. We call the capital expenditure. So if we regard the 12 to $15 billion, and usually TSMC will depreciate within 5 years.
But that's pretty fast, right?
Pretty fast.
Yeah.
They try to push themselves, give themselves a pressure. So within 5 years, whenever you start building, you finish building the factory, even though you don't have any revenue, no customer, no production, you are losing $5, $7, $8 million per day.
per day.
Right? So that's depreciation means. So if we hold this concept, then we look into Kumamoto or Dresden is the easiest example because it's still under construction. So no revenue, so only loss. And the Kumamoto plant has started producing chips already, but also has started depreciating the capital expenditure, so also lost, but not that much. The worst case is Arizona. It took almost 4 years to finish building the factory, so it cost a lot. If we build the same factory in Taiwan, will cost only probably 18 months only. The Nanjing plant is another good example because Nanjing plant has been built in 2016. And it's almost 9 years from now, right? So all depreciation within 5 years, they've done it already. So you may say Nanjing fab has no cost now, so only gain.
Only profit.
The only cost is the labor and consuming materials every day only. So if you look at this, with your word, TSMC is expanding the whole operation globally.
Yes.
So they have to take care of all this expenditure, and financially they have to do a very subtle job to keep the financial plan, the balance sheet looking good. But I think if you look at the financial report has released already, TSMC has been doing a very good job. So I have pretty confidence they can do the same thing in the future.
And could you also talk a little bit about the consideration, a strategic consideration when they are trying to diversify their supply chain, and also you mentioned about the Arizona plant, the cost is pretty high.
Yes.
But they are still doing so. What's the strategic consideration behind that?
The strategy I can think of is they have to use the resources locally, local resources now. As Chenlung just mentioned, they bring some talents from Taiwan to those sites overseas, right? That's not the way they can do that for a long time because even in Taiwan, we lack of the talents or fundamental workers also. So I think TSMC strategically, they have to try to utilize the local resources as much as possible. Based on my understanding, TSMC has sent some people from Japanese, from some Americans from Arizona to Taiwan, some universities to take short-term training. And I think that's something they should do and probably do more to train more workers or in the talents, engineers from outside to Taiwan. We cannot move more talents from Taiwan to other sites more.
And before we wrap up, Chenlung, I want to ask about one of the most important partners of TSMC, the AI chip designer, the lead designer, Nvidia. And the Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang, he recently visited Beijing, and he also met with the senior officials in Beijing. So what's the purpose of this trip of Jensen Huang?
Jensen Huang is is the one that is really being caught between China and the United States. Especially, we have just mentioned the artificial intelligence chip is something that the U.S. would like China to have. So what Jensen Huang had been doing is that when China announced there's 8 chips that is not going to be exempt from tariff, they also announced for those chips that has been designed by an American company but produced somewhere else, is not in the United States, will also be exempt from the tariff. That means all the AI chips by the Nvidia is also going to be exempt. Because they are all produced in TSMC. So they are also going to be exempt from the tariff. And also we learned that Jensen Huang had been meeting with Donald Trump in Mar-a-Lago a while ago. And after the meeting, Trump had announced they're going to issue permits for some of the artificial intelligence produced by the Nvidia company is going to be allowed to ship it to China. So That is the way that Jensen Huang had been cleverly how to find its space within those two big competitions, right?
So I think we will continue to see these companies, how they navigate in this U.S.-China trade tension. Thank you, Chenlung and Rocky, for your great insights. If you liked our show, please search for us on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up and hit subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching our show today. Stay safe and see you next time.